Good evening, race fans, and welcome to Pocono, Pennsylvania for the Long Pond 200 for the Elite Belly Up Sports Cup Series. My name is David Westergreen. I am joined in the booth tonight by our producer, David Huckleberry, James Watson filling in for Zach Evans this week, and then Sam Boutwell over in race control. And James, throwing it to you right off the bat here, Pocono, the Tricky Triangle, an interesting challenge for these drivers in these next-gen cars. I think you and I are both not expecting a whole ton of passing and a whole lot of drafting on these straightaways. How do you think this race is going to play out for us tonight?
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting one because this place is one of the worst tracks when it comes to dirty air. I mean, all you need to do is just kind of look at the real life cup race here and the fact that Chase Briscoe was able to save fuel and hang on to the lead, which was an absolutely fantastic race for the combination. Totally not biased as a Chase Briscoe fan whatsoever. But yeah, we might see something similar to that tonight because I've raced here recently with the new update, and yeah, dirty air is gnarly. So we're gonna see a lot of passes done on pit road with pit strategy and whatnot.
I think that's absolutely right. And, as we mentioned that qualifying is important, we set our starting grid here. Ethan Burrell will be on pole for this race, the 4D Racewear Pole Award winner, that is. And he'll be flanked by Jonathan Cutlip in that 5 car. Thomas Coonan will start third. He's been qualifying very well this season. Alongside him is last week's winner, Blake Reynolds. Zach Novak, the pro, will start in 5th spot, our Texas winner. And 6th will be Justin Wadsworth, the 2024 B champion of the series. Chad Frankenfield and Tate Lytle will roll off 7th and 8th, respectively. Gilberto Javier and Trey Holmes will go from 9th and 10th. Ethan Stanley and Ty McIntosh will round out your first dozen.
And then we have Ryan Schold and Gavin Hibbs on row 7, Scott Crump and Gavin Higgins on row 8, David Tooker and Jesse Racines, row 9, Tyler Fody and Ray Bracey rounding out the top 20, Caleb Pecumer and Paul Mikolajczyk, row 11. Row 12 features Ryan Gable and Brent Jones. I'll toss over to Dave for the next page.
Yep, we got Johnny Thomas in 25th with Daniel Gore alongside him. Row 14 is Josh Adams and Justin Vandermarl. Garrison Hogan and Michael Hosack round out your top 30 with Dustin Dewar and Jaden Racimus in the top 32. Seth Rawls and Sean Judson make up row 17. Row 18 will be Gerald Campbell and Frank Fody. And then the final set of starters here is Harrison Talon, 37th, Michael Goodman, 38th, Carlos Acosta, 39th, Matthew Weeks with an uncharacteristically poor qualifying run in 40th, Corey Abbott and Kurt Gibson rounding out the field tonight. And yeah, I think there's been a bit of a slow start here. We got a few guys taking EOLs. Tate Lytle, one of those. He loaded up in a Toyota. Can't fault Tate for that. He is, however, running for Lake Norman Motorsports in a Chevy. So Tate will drop to the rear of the field to accompany his former teammate, Matthew Weeks. It'll look like they're teammates, but they are not. This season, anyway.
Yeah, old habits die hard, I guess. This is the car that Tate was in last season, and so maybe brain autocorrect might have got him. Maybe just wasn't looking that closely, but yeah, unfortunate mistake for Tate on that one.
I tell you what, James, I wouldn't count him out. That's for sure. If there's anybody who can charge through the field in a car that's difficult to pass, it will be Tate Lytle. So
yeah,
keep an eye on him.
Yeah, considering what I've seen from the first 5 03 Cup Series races, yeah, if anyone knows that you can't count that man out, it's definitely me.
Yeah, he will be a threat for sure, even from the back of the field. Threats from the front of the field, though, will be Ethan Burrell and Jonathan Cutlip. They will be on the front row here as we roll through turn 3 and get ready to fire up for 80 laps here at Pocono. We'll have a stage break there at lap 20. A stage point at lap 20. These guys have 5 sets of tires in the pits. And hopefully we'll get some green flag racing in and be able to run through that stage and find out the pit strategy for the day. The pace car is off. The green flag is out. Ethan Burrell is on the loud pedal, and he fires it off early. Gets a small jump on Jonathan Cutlip, but Cutlip will race Ethan Burrell into turn 1. They're fanning out 2 and 3 wide behind. It's Ethan Stanley down on the bottom, and now Garrison Hogan goes around. Caution will not wave yet. Looks like Hogan's off the track. We stay green. Jonathan Cutlip through to the race lead. Thomas Kuhn sideways. He collects Zach Novak. Big wreck on the back straightaway. It's going to collect Ty McIntosh.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, that's
Gavin
everybody.
Hibbs.
What in the world?
Gavin Hibbs, Gilberto Javier, Scott Crump is around. Matthew Weeks is involved. I think that's Ethan Stanley on the bottom against the inside wall. Novak got a big hit off of it. It really started with Zach Novak and Thomas Kuhn. They're coming off turn 2.
Oh,
there's Novak in the 42. Gavin Higgins has damage.
Oh, the humanity. Everybody's dead.
The wiggle from Kuhn gets up and into Novak. And Chad Frankenfield's going to get a piece of Ty McIntosh right there. And that's going to block the whole entire track. Gavin Hibbs is going to get really lucky to make it through here. Holmes has damage. There's Scott Crump getting involved. Ray Bracey's going to get a piece of David Tooker and Gavin Higgins here. Frankenfield's going to come back up and pound the outside wall. These guys are going to make it less far than I made it yesterday in the 2003 race, and I made it 0 corners. So this is wild. There's Tyler Fody sneaking through. I think Fody gets it woed up. He'll be okay. Ryan Gable looks like he maybe made it through all right. So did Paul Mikolajczyk. Jaden Racimus is against the wall there. I don't think there's any damage to the one car. Early returns are, as we'll take a look from watching like Ryan Gable snake through this crash. Top 5 are Cutlip, Burrell, Reynolds, Wadsworth, and Stanley. And then Gavin Hibbs is 6th. I think that's all that made it through unscathed.
Woo! Well, this race is going to be even more interesting.
Caleb Pecumer got a piece of the inside wall under braking. Looks like Justin Vandermarl got sideways under braking. Who'd Pecumer hit there? Frank Fody's going to get a piece of somebody under braking here as well. Sean Judson.
Just a production
just
note
having a
here.
Tough time.
Dad had me turn on all the pretty trees and everything for you this week because he said we're not having any big wrecks, so we don't have that problem. But then we have a big wreck.
Yeah, that was that's exactly right. We knew
send
big
cards and letters to
coming.
Chad Frankenfield.
Yeah, if you're upset about that, there you go. Man, Ryan Gable went from 23rd starting spot. He will be restarting 7th on the grid. He did not get any damage and stayed out. Paul Mikolajczyk rises from 22nd up to 8th. Daniel Gore started 26th. He will restart 9th. I think 10th will be Johnny Thomas. He started 25th. Another replay. Let's watch Gavin Hibbs sneak through this wreck as well. Right in front of him, and the seas just opened up for Gavin Hibbs. My goodness.
Well, this is going to be a real interesting moment on quick shifts, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Ray Bracey is going to have his hands full. And Ray caught a piece of that wreck too. It's really unfortunate. It looked like he had made it through that first hole, and David Tooker came up in front of him and chopped the nose off of that 7 car. Quick look at our leader, Jonathan Cutlip. He will have led all the laps thus far. Ethan Burrell, Blake Reynolds, Justin Wadsworth, and Ethan Stanley, the top 5. Again, those were the only 5 drivers that made it through. We just went on board with Gavin Hibbs to sneak it through. Ryan Gable was mid-pack after qualifying, and he is now up here. Remember we talked about Tate Lytle? James, he's up here in I think
14th.
Once scoring updates, he's going to be about 14th. So he picked up 30 positions already.
Yep.
I told you not to count him out.
Yeah, doing the big brain strat of letting almost literally everyone take themselves out.
Yeah, I mean, that was... I'm thinking we're going to end up... If we were counting the wrecked cars, maybe I can be goading Ray Bracey to potentially perform this task for quick shifts. Like, the amount of cars that have damage from that wreck, it's probably upwards of 20 to 25 cars. So, absolutely remarkable start to this race. First caution in Worth noting that we need to thank the Robilus Photography Replay Machine. Mark doesn't appear to be here tonight, but his photo company will always be here when we get big time cautions like that and have to show a lot of replays. They have doubled up. We are 1 to green. I mean, James, does this change anything for you? Your mindset? Obviously, if you're one of these guys up in the front, or even, Ryan Gable, Daniel Gore, Paul Mikolajczyk, that have gained immensely from this crash, I mean, you have to continue to think we need to plan out our pit stops. We need to, race clean, try to click off some laps, get green, and get going, right?
Yeah, I know if I'm everybody else, I'm gonna take it a little easier on clean or cold tires, given how easy all of that happened. Yeah, I think it just kind of varies on how you fared. If you were ahead of that or you got through it, I think you may want to be a little more aggressive here, knowing that you have the advantage of a clean car when most of the field doesn't, and you can use that to your advantage and not have to worry about potentially losing as many spots just because a good chunk of the field might not be as competitive as you. If you were involved in that wreck, just keep praying for caution so you can get as much damage repaired as you can.
Yep, for sure. I think that's definitely the way. Attrition may be a factor here tonight. Do want to shout out that Kurt Gibson has gained 30 positions in exactly one corner of racing. So that's how this is going thus far tonight. Pace car is off for the second time. Jonathan Cutlip, the race leader on the inside. He'll get fired off and going in front of those two Channel 199 Toyotas. Ethan Burrell, a little bit of a bad start. It's going to allow Gavin Hibbs to chop down to the inside, get underneath Justin Wadsworth. It'll be Cutlip to the lead, Reynolds to second, Stanley for third around Ethan Burrell. Burrell up to that outside trying to fight with Stanley. He will not be able to. Stanley gets in front, clears Ethan Burrell, and it'll be Burrell and Gavin Hibbs side by side for fourth behind Cutlip, Reynolds, and Stanley. Through that first turn, everybody made it through okay, and we will stay green, but we'll make the tunnel turn for the first time, and that's usually kind of the tough corner, I think, here at Pocono Raceway.
Yeah, when I see massive multi-car pileups, I usually see it in the tunnel turn. That's how most of my IndyCar races go here.
Tunnel turns it's a lot. You're that higher speed. It feels like you're a lot more likely to wad them up. But they have made it through. Oh, caution! I think it's gonna come out.
Yep. Oh no! Another big wreck. We got a bunch of cars spinning. McIntosh, Fody, Tooker, Hossack,
Dewar, Pecumer. They made it almost one lap. David Tooker, I believe, was the first car that kicked this off. I saw that car sliding head on towards the outside wall. Oh. He got a piece of the wall right there and came down into Ty McIntosh. Look at that.
Yeah, ping-ponged and came right back up. And Corey Abbott. Corey misses it. Hossack not as lucky.
Dusty goes to swing that car down.
Oh, no! Scholl just demolishes the rear of Hossack.
Yeah, Tyler Fode's going to come in here and pile drive this wreck as well. And you can see he's already sliding sideways. He gets a big piece of Hossack right there.
And I came in like a wrecking ball. That's all I'm legally allowed to sing before we get to
we can't, you gotta be careful. Matthew Weeks also got a piece of this wreck, Dave. We're on board with Ryan Schultz for now, or at least watching from Schultz's perspective. But here's Matthew Weeks. Again, that qualifying effort. That bad qualifying effort really going to come back and bite Matthew Weeks here as he gets a piece of this incident as well. He is heading down pit road to fix that damage. And we'll go back and take a look at Schultz's view of that since I pulled us off it. Golly, man. Two big wrecks in two very tight spots on this racetrack. Exiting turn 4, you're kind of all trying to press up towards the outside wall. Matthew Weeks is disconnected from the server. You're trying to press up towards the outside wall. Everybody's trying to kind of make it to that outside lane so that you can go ahead and, draft down this front straightaway. You can see how everybody singles out. And the first car that doesn't really is David Tooker. And that's the car that bounces off the outside wall and winds up, causing this big mayhem. Dusty Dewar is going to end up locking it down. And I don't think he got hit again. So this ends up being a pretty good job by Dewar.
Yeah,
save the 32 car.
Yeah, the tires are dead, but if you're involved in a wreck and the only things killed are the tires, you will take that.
Yeah, here's the one I did see happen at the end. Caleb Becumer, I think Caleb's got to work on the brake bias here, because the first wreck, he also got on the binders and the car hooked on him, and he got on the binders again here for this wreck, and the car hooked on him again. You gotta put the brakes a little more in the front there.
Yeah,
the car settles down.
I know his pain, because everyone who races with me knows I throw the brake bias back as far as I can feasibly get it. So I know the pains of trying to check up for a wreck with all that rear brake bias. So stay strong, Caleb.
Let's see. Yeah, we are not even 1 to green. So, Dave, why don't we go ahead and throw our ads in here, and we'll come back for the restart.
Since 2010, race fans have had one burning question. When will the Xfinity Series return to Worldwide Technology Raceway? You asked, NASCAR delivered. On Saturday, September 6, 2025, the magic is back. The track that launched the legendary careers of Harvick, Busch, Keselowski, Edwards, and Earnhardt Jr. is now ready to write that next chapter. We're going to introduce you to a new crop of future champions and Hall of Famers. And in the process, we'll create more of the greatest moments in racing history. NASCAR Weekend 2025, the NASCAR Cup Series Championship Playoffs, the Confluence Music Festival, and now 250 miles of the NASCAR Xfinity Series. 2 incredible races, 1 challenging track, a 3-day party of epic proportions. Go to www.raceway.com and lock in your weekend racing and camping packages for as little as $20 down.
Now let's hear about Blue Egg Marketing. Rev up your business with Blue Egg, your marketing pick. Turbocharge your lead generation with experienced drivers that can navigate the competitive track to connecting with your customers. With Blue Egg, you're always in the pole position, leading your brand toward victory lane. Don't spin your wheels, accelerate success with Blue Egg, fueling small businesses to win big.
Have you ever just forgot to hold the brakes during a wreck? Are they just not able to pronounce your name in a race?
Paul Mikolajczyk.
Have you ever been wrecked by Chad? Hi, I'm Ray Bracey, and I'm here to share with you quick shifts. Watch all the highlights, lowlights, and other shenanigans in the top racing leagues, such as the Elite Racing League, and... But don't just take my word for it.
Before Quick Shifts, I was depressed. I wasn't able to relive my favorite moments from each race. Now with Quick Shifts, I can go out there and listen to all my favorite banter from the race while seeing all the crashes and good racing once again.
I don't remember life before Quick Shifts. I had to listen to Cameron Proke and Ty Mac and Cheese recap Oscar every week in the 3-Wide TV booth, but now, thanks to Quick Shifts, I actually enjoy my Oscar recaps.
So try quick shifts. You suffered through it one time, why not suffer through it again?
Side effects of quick shifts include constipation, diarrhea, dizziness, dry mouth, abnormal heart rhythms, internal bleeding.
Just go ahead. Welcome back to the Long Pond 200 here at Pocono Raceway. There is the note for the tally. David Hooker receives it for bouncing off of the wall and starting that second wreck that was roughly 10 cars deep. 2 cautions in. We've made it an 8th of the race so far, hoping that we can get some green flag laps in this time. Pace car is off. Jonathan Cutlip, Blake Reynolds the front row this time. Ethan Stanley, Ethan Burrell behind. Green flag is out. Cutlip fires off, Reynolds along with him. Worth noting that the first tally for that big pileup on the back straightaway given off to Thomas Coonan, who did disconnect from the server. Ethan Stanley now 3 wide to the bottom of the racetrack. They're going to make a big move. Cutlip down the middle lane. He'll try to pinch Ethan Stanley off 3 wide on corner exit of turn 1. He'll hang on to it. Blake Reynolds with a power move up top. He'll have the run down the back straightaway. Stanley will have to cut in.
Nice to see these boys are taking it easy after the first few incidents.
Yeah, no. If anything, it galvanized him to run even harder. I think here. It's Jonathan Cutlip, Blake Reynolds side by side for the race lead. Ethan Burrell to the outside of Ethan Stanley. He will clear past car 91 for third. It's Cutlip and Reynolds still fighting for the race lead off turn 3. It'll be door to door as they go down the front straightaway. Lead change. Give it to Blake Reynolds at the start finish line. Last week's winner gets a lap led, but Cutlip with the side draft, and this is going to draw Ethan Burrell and Ethan Stanley right up to him. Cutlip has that preferred inside line. I don't think he's going to be able to clear Reynolds on corner entry.
Yeah, that 3Y move did not help Ethan Stanley at all. He lost the spot to Burrell, and he had to fight just to avoid losing another spot to Wadsworth.
I was talking to Ethan Stanley last week after he lost the internet last week. He's gone out and tried to replace I think he said it was the RAM on his computer, trying to get that fixed so that he doesn't drop out any more of these races. Right now, running fourth, has a really good shot at this one as well. But we'll have to see if that internet does hold up for Ethan Stanley. For now, it's Blake Reynolds who has cleared Jonathan Cutlip for the race lead. Ethan Burrell working back into the picture in the 37 car. Ethan Stanley, Justin Wadsworth, the top 5 as they started the race. It'll be Cutlip going after Blake Reynolds down to the inside for the side draft. Reynolds tried to get away from it. He was unable to do so. They snake down the front straightaway here at Pocono, and it's Jonathan Cutlip to the outside for the race lead in turn 1.
Yeah, Blake tried doing the snake, and it didn't do him a single favor. His Cutlip just still ran around him anyways, was able to get the run, got the side draft, and now has got the lead back.
Cutlip to the lead. The goal would be to try to pull away from whoever you're behind, but I just don't think that's going to be possible in this next-gen car. The draft is really strong. Going to be tough for these guys to separate from one another, and I think you'll see a lot of those moves. You know what it reminds me of, James? It kind of reminds me of like an IndyCar type of race where you have the leader, you can't really get away from the cars behind him, and then you're swapping the lead over and over again throughout the course of the race. That feels like what it's going to end up being here at Pocono, but Jonathan Cutlip does break away a little bit from Blake Reynolds here this second lap through. We'll see if that draft plays any sort of a factor here. Blake does draw a bead back in on Jonathan Cutlip.
And look at the back. They were nearly 3, 4, 5 wide entering the corner.
Kurt Gibson got
a back there.
I think Kurt Gibson got a piece of the wall corner exit at turn 3, and he lost a couple of spots. Everybody kind of scattered to avoid. We do stay green. The field has spread out quite significantly here. We're seeing, a point to where everybody's very much single file, and this is where that dirty air is going to come in. And we talked about how difficult it's going to be to pass. It feels like this is that time. Tires are they've been heated and cooled a couple of different times now. I don't know that anybody has particularly fresh stuff unless you took a set of tires on this first, couple of cautions. For now, everybody's on that equally somewhat worn stuff, and it's going to be really hard to generate runs on the cars around you.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely still might be able to pull some passes towards the back, but for Blake Reynolds, it's going to take a mammoth effort to get around that 5 car. Now that Cutlip has all the glorious, the precious clean air. Oh, as you see, Reynolds almost got the wall.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it perfectly. Here comes Ethan Burrell looking for second. Blake Reynolds got super tight in the wake of Jonathan Cutlip's 5 car there and pushed it towards the outside wall. But look at Reynolds able to hold strong on the outside around Ethan Burrell. Burrell tucks back in line in 3rd spot in front of Ethan Stanley. And they will continue like that. It's going to be tough. Every corner, you're going to see these guys trying to figure out how they can, find some clean air, find some better handling on the car. Jonathan Cutlip enters high. That gives Blake Reynolds a lot of that clean air. But then Reynolds comes up behind Jonathan Cutlip. That car's going to get tight. He almost hit a piece of the wall there. And Cutlip's going to be able to drive away down the back straightaway here.
Yeah, I think we're going to see what I would consider kind of a negative feedback loop here. Going to see cars get tight, have to get off of the throttle to avoid smashing the wall. You're going to get a car or two trying to pass them, not pull off the pass because the middle is so dominant here at Pocono when it comes to passing. Both cars are going to burn up their tires doing it, and then it's just going to keep happening more and more until we're even more spread out, just because you'll reach a point to where your tires are so cooked you can't even hold on to the draft.
Yeah, I think that's something we've all, experienced in our racings at Pocono, the previous Belly Up Sports Cup Series race this year as well. As we go on board with Blake Reynolds here, keeping an eye on Blake. He's shifting every lap, I believe. He's trying to stay in the draft of Jonathan Cutlip and hoping to get some of that clean air in the corners. He's fifth gear down the end of that back straightaway, drops it to fourth for the tunnel turn. Fire it up. Probably not into fifth here, I think, down the short chute. Yeah, he's going to max out the revs, enter turn 3 as hard as he can, utilize the lower ratio of that fourth gear, and then try to power off, shift to fifth down this long front straightaway, and then probably back it off into fourth, entering turn 1.
Yeah, he's doing a fantastic job holding on to the rear of Cutlip, some of the best we've seen, but it's that Coke experience really helping out right there.
Worth noting, speaking of Coke experience, Zach Novak, after getting collected in that first lap wreck, has retired the 42 car. Matthew Weeks is retired, as well as Garrison Hogan and Thomas Coonan from this race tonight. So 4 drivers already retired from the race. A lot of drivers with some pretty significant damage down the running order will likely end up potentially lapped if this race does go green as it currently is. And if you're wondering why Blake Reynolds is, pressing the matter, I think, behind Jonathan Cutlip right now, it's because we're approaching the stage point. Reynolds going after Cutlip, trying to grab that stage victory. He will get alongside. It will be within a couple of laps here. Cutlip and Reynolds side by side down the front straightaway. That's going to slow him down, bring Ethan Burrell back into this fight. Side by side drafting is Cutlip. Reynolds charges the first corner. He's going to clear Jonathan Cutlip here, move into the race lead here on lap 18. That's where he finished the race last week, and Cutlip's going to have a good run on him coming back, though. Reynolds with the block.
Oh, I don't think Cutlip's going to appreciate that one.
And remember, these two were racing for the championship and made contact at the end of last season. Reynolds throws the block on Jonathan Cutlip.
Oh, wow. Oh, Reynolds clears. I wasn't sure if he was going to be clear. Holy crackers.
Jonathan Cutlip back to second. He's going to have to make a run back at Blake Reynolds in the draft with the dirty air on the nose of that 5 car. 2 laps to go in the stage. It's Blake Reynolds trying to break the draft, break the toe, and head down to the inside lane. Jonathan Cutlip's just going to stay up top and gain ground. He's gained half a tenth up there. Reynolds cuts back in front of him, but now Cutlip might have a chance to set up a run on the exit of turn 1 here.
Yeah, we'll see if he can get another run like he did the last time. Doesn't look like it. Blake can rest easy for now.
And he's trying to win that stage. Lap 20 going to 21 is that stage point. Valuable. Be valuable for all these guys grabbing points in the top 10. There hasn't been a whole lot of movement among these drivers as well, so it seems like that's going to be the points. The battle would be between Seth Rawls and Daniel Gore for that final stage point within 2 laps. Right now, they're not particularly close. It's Ethan Stanley jumping underneath Ethan Burrell for that 3rd spot here in the stage. Burrell up top kind of has that preferred line. Stanley to the bottom. These guys chasing Jonathan Cutlip and Blake Reynolds, but it'll be all Reynolds for right now with 1 lap to go in the stage. Stanley drives it deep into turn 1. He will clear Ethan Burrell for the 3rd spot. Burrell will try the crossover here coming off of 2. Now turn 1 still, that is.
He's still going to be there.
Yep, battle is for 3rd. The stage just about wrapped up. Cutlip got a pretty good run through turn 1. I don't know that there's any way to make a pass in turn 3 here. It's going to have to be a perfect corner for Jonathan Cutlip to go after Blake Reynolds and win this stage. Ethan Stanley wins the battle for 3rd. Through turn 3, it'll be Reynolds and Cutlip for this stage win. Burrell still looking for 3rd. Cutlip works the outside lane, tries to generate a big run. That won't be enough. Blake Reynolds going to be your stage winner here in the Long Pond 200. Jonathan Cutlip 2nd. Stanley does defeat Burrell for that third spot. Justin Wadsworth gets fifth. Gavin Hibbs, Paul Mikolajczyk, Johnny Thomas, Gerald Campbell, Seth Rawls will earn stage points in this one. Blake Reynolds took the outside lane there, and that's going to allow Jonathan Cutlip to draw a bead back to last season's champion, that 66 car.
Yeah, once again, not enough of a run for him to even kind of look to the inside of the 66. Saw Gavin Hibbs maybe looking to try to send a move to the inside of Wadsworth, but he tucks back in as well.
Yeah, Hibbs has been kind of quiet there. It looks like this front seven is broken away a little bit. There's about a half a second gap back to Johnny Thomas in eighth, but this is what you were talking about with regards to that negative feedback loop. These guys starting to spread out. The cars in dirty air starting to fall off the draft of one another. Like between Paul Mikolajczyk and Gerald Campbell, there's a second, and we're up to upwards of 10 and 15 seconds back into the field here. So these guys are really starting to spread out, and that could mean that this race could have some green flag feel to it going towards halfway and then potentially the rest of the way in this one. So my question to you, James, is you said you ran the next gen on Pocono pretty recently. What's the fuel window look like?
Well, honestly, it kind of depends. The one good thing about being in the dirty air well into the pack is the fact that you're going to be able to save a decent amount. If I remember correctly, I think fuel might have been about 33, 34 laps. Thereabouts is Dusty Dewar having himself a wild ride through turn 3. Whee!
He saved it. I couldn't tell. Was that contact from David Tooker who brought out our second caution there? It could have been bad.
I don't think so. I think
Or did Justy just get loose under braking there?
Yeah, I don't think Tooker was close enough.
You can go faster here, Dave. There we go. Yeah, car broke loose on Dusty for sure. Right in front of Tooker. He didn't have anything to do with it. Hit the intimidator button, I suppose.
Yeah, Tooker was probably like, "Oh no, not again."
Yeah, after being involved in, I think both of the first two wrecks was David Tooker, one of many drivers to be involved in those two. There's a battle that we did briefly note. Tate Lytle and Josh Adams working for 13th spot back there. Gavin Hibbs is also still working after Justin Wadsworth in the number 6 Toyota. That is for Pro Edge Racing versus Fueled Up Racing. Hibbs looking to the inside, taking a peek, going into the tunnel turn. He will think better of it and tuck in line behind Wadsworth here.
Yeah,
So
we're seeing a lot of gaps now.
So then when there are gaps, and there will be plenty of time to consider passing, as Jesse Racimus, Harrison Talon, and Trey Holmes battle for 16th spot on the racetrack. You said 30-ish. I'm going to say it's probably in the realm of 32, 33 laps for the pit stop. If that is indeed the case, here comes Trey Holmes going 3 wide. This is a 3-wide battle bout for 16th between cars that have all been involved in a wreck thus far tonight. So,
I mean, to be fair, you can say with cars that have been in a wreck for pretty much most of the field. So
true. Oh, Jesse, a little piece of the outside wall there. It's funny that Jesse and Harrison are technically teammates, I believe, in this series now, both on Fueled Up Racing, and they're racing it out like it's the last lap. Battle still will not go away. Trey Holmes a little bit out of shape, and he will have to gather it up.
Losing a lot of pace and track position, too, because of it.
Here's another battle for 9th. Now it's Gerald Campbell, Seth Rawls. You also have Daniel Gore, Gavin Higgins, Josh Adams all looking on for this battle for the back end of the top 10. Worth, if in your math is correct, 34 laps, we'll call it, on the max end of that pit cycle. With those first 2 cautions, I'm pretty sure this is just a pretty simple one-stop race. Am I incorrect on that? If you could if you have to save to stretch it, we had 70 effective laps to go on the restart. You just save to 35 or 36 if you can, and then pit and then save again, and you make it to the end, right? It's a pretty simple one-stop race.
Yeah, it's definitely a possibility. I will be a bit nervous for those on the second half trying to do it, depending on how long you can actually stretch it. But it's definitely possible, and like I said, it gives advantage to those that are farther in the pack that are actually able to save. You know, I'm nervous for guys like Reynolds and Cutlip who have been out front most of the race, pushing like heck, trying to be able to stretch it that far. But someone that's been kind of within the pack might be able to do that. But another thing that we still have to keep in mind is that, you know, I can't honestly imagine we're done with cautions, because yes, the field is pretty spread out right now, but let's not forget the next gen is a very temperamental car, and anytime you think that you have it underneath you is the exact time something goes wrong and it breaks loose. So I can easily see another caution happening off of something random like that happening. So it's not likely, but I wouldn't be surprised if we get another couple cautions here as this race continues to go on.
For sure. I think you just, in a race like this, you have to run it backwards a little bit. You know, how do I get to lap 80? And if you're back in this group right here that we're looking at right now, Daniel Gore, Gavin Higgins, Josh Adams, Tate Lytle, how do you make up that track position? You're already 5 seconds behind. Well, you save fuel and you try to see if those guys up front don't have trouble making it to the end on one more stop. I think that's the kind of the obvious answer. But it's one that, yeah, it's a bet you have to make, right? If you're Tate Lytle right now, you know, sit in the draft, stay behind Josh Adams here. You might, odds are, right? Tate Lytle feels like he's faster than Josh Adams. Wait, save fuel, make it to lap 36, feel very strongly that you can go to the end on fuel after one more stop. You don't have to do any saving in the second run, and you can go for it for the rest of the way here. So as I say that, of course, Tate's going to get a really big run and try to go around Josh Adams. So that may not be a calculus, right? Maybe these guys have 35 or 36 laps on fuel, and they're able to, you know, go from that point at which we had the caution laps last time, as Adams holds strong on the outside of Tate Lytle, and Lytle will have to get back in line. So, you know, there you go. That's just how it's been. That's how the passing has been. And here comes Seth Rawls on Gerald Campbell once again. Gerald Campbell and Josh Adams being on the outside, just two guys that notoriously difficult to pass in this series. I think that's a fair assessment. Obviously, I don't think you've had nearly as much experience as I have with those two particular drivers, but I think if there's a guy that reminds me most of Ryan Newman in this series, it's that driver, the 31, Gerald Campbell, who is very aggressive, maybe a little too aggressive, as there he goes sideways down the back straightaway. Able to save it is Gerald Campbell, but he will lose all of those spots he was defending very aggressively against Seth Rawls.
That's a killer. You just feel so awful when that happens. Like, look at that. That's 5 spots he lost. And you just sit there and think, I might not be able to get those back.
Right. Not anymore, especially at this point, right? Gerald's tires are heated up. He is no longer comfortable. Brent Jones is going to be making a move on him very shortly. Seth Rawls has cleared through and actually extended a little bit of a gap back to Daniel Gore here as Adams looks around Gavin Higgins for that 11th spot. It won't go anywhere, though. Gavin Higgins strong on the outside lane, might even be looking at making a move around Daniel Gore in that number 69 car for South Shore Racing. But this is the closest battle on the track right now. Obviously, our leaders have just kind of been in a holding pattern about 3 to 4 tenths of a second apart from one another. That entire top 5 has just kind of been exactly as we left it last. Paul Mikolajczyk has made up a little ground on Gavin Hibbs. That's about all that's happened, I think, among this top group. It has been a lockstep type of race where Blake Reynolds has been in control since that pass back on lap 18. There's a pass, Tate Lytle around Josh Adams.
Yeah, Tate finally getting the pass done. We've watched him try to get it done the last kind of 3 or 4 laps, and that just shows you how difficult it is to pass. You know, it's not a one corner thing. Like, you kind of have to set it up and just keep working it lap after lap after lap, and finally you can reach a point to where you can get that pass done. But it takes a lot of time, effort, and honestly being perfect, not making a mistake that's going to cost you any of those little incremental gains. It's just going to put you either back at square one or even farther behind square one.
Yeah, just like we saw with Gerald Campbell just a couple of laps ago. I will tell you, though, as we've got this graphic up there, Tyler Fode definitely having a little bit of a conniption that Tate Lytle in that Toyota for Lake Norman Motorsports is definitely not Tyler Fode's favorite thing, though definitely an innocent mistake on Tate's part.
Yeah, it happens to the best of us.
Up front, they caught Caleb Pecumer and put him a lap down due to that crash damage from those first 2 incidents that Caleb was a part of, but it has brought Jonathan Cutlip a little bit closer to Blake Reynolds, having to throw Blake off of his line a little bit. We'll see if that results in any sort of challenge for the race lead, but we're rapidly approaching the point where I think this race no longer becomes interesting with respect to pit strategy. If your numbers are correct there, James, 34 laps, that's 34 laps on a tank. That's what, 3-4 laps, I think, to be from here to be able to make it to the end. These guys nobody's pitted. Nobody's tried to short pit. I think this is a fairly cut and dry one stopper from here. And it kind of takes a little bit of the fun out of Pocono when you don't have that fuel strategy to shake things up a little bit.
Well, I mean, in theory, but like I said, it just depends on how much they have to go in the second half, because 34 laps, you have to 35 laps. That's about 5 or 6 laps that you need to save just to get to halfway. And yeah, you're probably going to save thereabouts thanks to all the cautions we've had, but you still have to deal with the second half and having that deficit. So it's like, okay, now you have to save 5 or 6 laps on the second half of the race, depending on how far you can stretch the first run. So 5 or 6 laps, that's kind of a big ask here, especially for those in the lead. If Blake's gonna be running out front full gas the whole time, it's not going to be very likely. He would have to kind of chase Briscoe it and just save fuel from the lead if he's going to pull that off. So we see here comes Ethan Stanley to the inside of Cutlip. Oh, there was almost contact.
Yep, almost contact between those two. It will be Ethan Stanley clearing Jonathan Cutlip for that second spot. I've been mathing wrong, and Zach Evans will tell me this is why he doesn't do the math. And I'll agree with him. But I've been thinking you need to get to 70. Now that's 10 laps short. You need to get to 80. So 40 is halfway. If you can go 34 laps, you're going to have to get to 44, which is 8 laps from now. That seems like a bit of a Herculean task. So maybe there will be some sort of strategy here because you do have to 2 stop. So maybe you can cut the next stage in half a little bit and take advantage of the tires. But as I look at some of these lap times, I mean, it seems like guys are within 2 or 3 tenths of their fastest lap right now. So, doesn't seem like tires are playing much of a factor at all.
Well, maybe not for some. I don't think it's making a difference for Blake Reynolds. I think for Cutlip, it might be, since, he dropped off of Reynolds and lost second to Stanley, and might have to be worried about losing third to Burrell behind.
Yeah, Cutlip is about a half second off of his fastest lap in lap time right now. But I mean, just a couple of laps ago, he ran a 55.2, and his fastest lap was a 55 flat. Like, I don't know. He not only did he defend the position. Well, I guess he didn't defend it. It's flipped back between he and Ethan Stanley, but it feels like the tires are just not as, they're not going to wear as much. You're not going to gain as much if you go get freshies right now, right? And then you would be out of the draft. So that doesn't seem like it's a viable strategy as we take a look back. This group has shuffled up a little bit. Seth Rawls lost a couple of spots here to Daniel Gore, Gavin Higgins, and Tate Lytle. Tate has moved past Adams and Rawls. He's still working on Higgins, try to get into the top 10. Everybody's stayed out. Nobody has tried to short pit. I still feel like, if you feel confident in fuel saving ability, if you feel confident in your tire saving or potentially your ability to make up time on the fresh run, you would have already tried to pit here, but we haven't seen that from anybody. So either these guys can make it to the end on one stop, or they don't feel like there's any sort of point to doing that. And I'm not sure which of those answers I like more. I think I'd much prefer it if there were some viable second strategies here that we could identify and follow along with.
Well, I don't know if you can necessarily say that tires aren't going to make a difference. I think just looking at the lap times isn't quite telling the whole picture, because even still, like, the draft is going to help that quite a bit, but you can see that there's definitely still a lot of cars that are still struggling to some degree, hence why we're starting to see a lot of these gaps stretch out even more. I think it might not necessarily show lap time wise, but performance, having the fresher tires will absolutely make a difference and allow you to kind of put the car in different places to where you can try to get by guys. Because the next gen tires don't always wear percentage wise, but the heat in them is worth quite a bit, and the tire heat in the tires definitely has a massive effect on how these cars drive. So having fresher tires that don't have that amount of heat in them will absolutely be a lot quicker and will help you get through traffic.
Yeah, I think the underrated point there is going to be getting through traffic. I think that's where these guys will find some success. But worth noting that whole group that we were on just now, as we swapped over and see somebody coming down pit road, Corey Abbott, the first car to make a move to pit road. Johnny Thomas was falling into the clutches of Daniel Gore, Gavin Higgins, and Tate Lytle. So, I think it's all right. But yeah, so Corey's pitting here at 40. To our understanding, he can only go about 35 or so under green, right? They had those 9 laps at the beginning of this run that allowed them to get to 40 right here. This second stint is a very interesting stint because you have to save a lot of fuel if you're going to try to make it all the way to the end from this final pit stop. But it's going to depend on how far these guys can go on this first stint, because if you can make it 3 or 4 more laps, I think you can make it to the end on fuel.
Yeah, it's honestly, I'm not really sure. Like you said, it really depends on when we're going to see the rest of the field bring it down. And then even then, it's still going to be a lot on the second half, just trying to make sure you can eke the fuel tank long enough without guarantee that you'll have someone to draft off to help. You might be all by yourself. You might be stuck leading the pack. That will kill your fuel mileages. This is a wild battle. Campbell and Holmes. Jared almost got put into the wall. Holmes slid up about a lane or so.
Gerald Campbell's been falling back ever since that wild move we saw and the save. He is now in a piece with Jesse Racimus. Racimus hard into the inside wall. Jesse Racimus's car destroyed. Gerald Campbell's car is smashed into the inside wall just in front of Jesse's. Both of these cars are heavily damaged. If they stop, I don't think they'll. Yeah, the caution is out. There it is. Because Jesse had to stop. That car was not going to continue moving, and that will end all our questions about pit strategy, unfortunately, and mean that these guys are all going to pit here and then can make it to the end on fuel. What a shame. And it was that ferocious battle that we had just seen taking place between Gerald Campbell and Jesse Racines. Let's go back and take a look on the Robilus photo replay machine. Let's see if we can see what happened here. I mean, it looked just like close racing. I couldn't tell if one came up or one came down there on corner exit.
Yeah, it's. Yeah, I think Gerald just didn't track out. Like, he's not running that low. He's still fairly close to the wall, but there was still a little bit higher he could have gone. And I don't think Jesse was quite anticipating that, but it's not anything that Gerald did wrong. To me, that's just a pure racing incident, honestly.
It's what it looks like, and obviously race control Sam Boutwell will be able to make that call shortly and give us an update on what happened there. But I think what we do know is Jesse Racines' car destroyed Gerald Campbell's car. Gerald Campbell's car has pretty heavy damage, and ultimately, when in iRacing, right, we know when there's like a meatball flag, the car ends up being undrivable effectively. Jesse's car is pretty immediately undrivable here. The hood is up. The car is bouncing on the ground. There's just no way he's going to be able to drive this thing and continue to race it. And so what ultimately ends up happening is he has to hit the brakes and stop it. And when it does, iRacing triggers a caution flag there, and nothing you can do about that. That's just what happens when you're racing hard and the service doesn't like it when you stop on the racetrack.
Yeah, and you just can't, because like when you have significant damage like that, you're just kind of sliding on the underbody all the way on the track. And, like you said, iRacing makes you come to a complete stop before you tow, and you're just not going to be able to stop long enough and hit the tow button without iRacing throwing the caution out.
Jesse's as far off the track as he can be there. The inside wall is to his left. He was on the black area. If there was any point at which it would have been okay to try and stop the car, I think Jesse found that point. It's just there was just no way it was going to end up working out for him, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, it's just one of them things.
Battle off pit road is won by Ethan Stanley. He picks up big time track position on pit road. Blake Reynolds loses a bunch. Back to fifth. Jonathan Cutlip loses even more. Stanley, Burrell, Wadsworth, Mikulajczyk, and Reynolds, the top five. Tate Lytle with a really good pit stop. He will come out sixth. It'll be Daniel Gore, Jonathan Cutlip, Gavin Hibbs, and Gavin Higgins to round out the top 10. And as you saw there, the note from race control, Sam Boutwell, no tally issued. So, yeah, that's a tough call for Sam. I think got a little case of Jesse came up, but Gerald came down, came together coming off the corner. Race and deal. You mentioned it. I think that's a good call, and it's unfortunate. Obviously, Jesse's the one who kind of suffers the most from this one. Gerald's going to have some damage, but that's about it.
Meanwhile, we're getting a look at the gun show from Ethan Burrell.
Yeah, I sent him.
Feel like I need to hit the gym.
I sent him a message earlier.
And he literally had to flex on us. He literally had to flex on us. Look at that. He knows what he's doing. Man, the nerve of some people.
Ethan's got to get up here and win this race. Get a little bit faster. He's been behind these guys all race long. He started on the pole. He didn't even lead the first lap.
And I want to say I think that's false advertisement, because no one with arms like that is eating Domino's. I question a few things here, good sir.
Ethan works at Domino's. He's a delivery driver for him. So
see. Okay.
Yeah, that's the connection. Do we have any more? Oh, there we go. We got Brent Jones. Go Lions. Brent's got it a little zoomed in. We'll talk. I'll tell Brent about the pulling it back on him there. There's Bojo. Ray's had a nice recovery drive. He's been sitting right at the back end of the top 20. He probably needed a yellow flag to get this 7 car back in the draft for everybody. Also want to note, while we had Ray up there, before we switch to Carlos, Bojo's Cat Pushkin's going to be on a real ARCA car. That's exciting.
Yes. And it's going to be awesome.
He's right there over Ray's right shoulder. is Pushkin. So that logo will be on Brayton Laster's ARCA car at Michigan, like on the hood. So I'm pretty excited for that. That's super cool. Then we got Carlos, who I don't did Carlos get involved in that first wreck? Dave, do we know? Did he spend a bunch of time on pit road that first stop fixing damage? Well, maybe a little bit of damage in that first wreck, but it seems like Carlos's car's pretty clean. 24th right now for Carlos Costa. Should have Ty. He's been through hell and back tonight, and the face says it all. For poor Ty McIntosh. He's the one who got wiped out in that second wreck with David Tucker, and he got a piece of the first one as well. That car not handling up to snuff for poor Ty.
Probably busy
Pace
sending
car,
Daniel Gore a message to tell him to pick.
Yeah, pace car is off here, and Ethan Stanley and Paul Mikolajczyk are on that outside lane, going to work together and try to zip forward. Stanley with the good start. It'll be those Pro Edge Toyotas on the bottom, the Channel 199 Toyotas up top. Blake Reynolds loses a couple of spots. He loses a spot to Tate Lytle, lost a spot to Jonathan Cutlip on this start. Burrell clears off Mikolajczyk. He will gain second spot. It'll be Wadsworth and Mikolajczyk, and there's a wreck behind. And Daniel Gore's gotten sideways off turn 2. Rawls is in the outside wall. I didn't even see where the rest of the wreck went. Is it Brent Jones? Oh,
I don't know. Yeah, I saw
no,
Carlos
Carlos
go around, but I don't think he hit anything.
Ooh.
Oh,
Got voted.
yeah, a
Tyler
little bit of
Fody.
help from the 40 car.
Yeah. Oh, Dewar's going to get up.
Oh,
Oh, Dewar dodges it. Oh, there's Ty again. No, don't get in it, Ty. Does everybody miss him?
Oh.
I spoke too soon.
Little damage from Schold.
I think that's it, though. All things considered, it could have been worse. Oh, Goody and Corey. Made it. Gilberto's going to, I think, clear through it. Let's go to
Yeah, Cork.
maybe on board with Dusty Dewar. That would have been the one, I think, to watch
He makes
for
a
here.
little impact here.
Yeah, he chose the same spot that Goody did, but he wasn't going as slow. Call it a bump draft.
And then, yeah, I think something did involve Gore because I heard him talking about him needing some new trousers.
Yeah, I would go ahead and jump to Gore here after this one, as we did see Dewar clear around the wreck. Second wreck, Dusty's made a good move to avoid today. 3 wide is Gore here. He gets hit by Gavin Hibbs coming off of the corner right there.
Oh,
I thought for sure Daniel Gore was going to go nose first into the inside wall.
yeah, like you see that 9 times out of 10. That's a next gen overcorrect death wobble, and somehow Daniel Gore holds on to that race car. That is an unbelievable save. It didn't look like much, but we can assure you it looked like everything when you're behind the wheel of one of these cars.
Mm-hmm. Why don't we throw it to another commercial break, give our partners one more chance to run through here on our 4th caution. These cautions are pretty long at Pocono. Hopefully we'll be back before the restart here to set things up once again for the second half of this one.
3 years of sellout crowds, 3 years of edge of your seat action, 3 years of jaw-dropping finishes. Worldwide Technology Raceway has rocked the world of NASCAR, and now NASCAR is giving us another reason to celebrate. The 2025 NASCAR Cup Series Championship playoffs are coming. Sunday, September 7th, 2025. Just when you thought the racing couldn't get any more intense, now every single lap matters. One wrong move could be the difference between elimination and being crowned the king. The Enjoy Illinois 300, the Confluence Music Festival, the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs, and for the first time in 15 years, the NASCAR Xfinity Series on Saturday, September 6th. Don't be on the outside looking in. See history being made in your own backyard. Go to WWTRaceway.com for the hottest ticket of the year.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to the Long Pond 200 here from Pocono. We are 1-2 green with Ethan Stanley currently the race leader. Did we get a tally awarded for that incident with Carlos DaCosta and Tyler Fody? Dave, did we get a message for it from Race
We
Control?
did not yet. Let me check with Race
10-4. We'll let you know who was deemed at fault for that one once we get the message. Otherwise, it will be those Channel 199 Toyotas up top. You'll have 2 Pro Edge Toyotas on the bottom, and then you've got what should be a Lake Norman Chevrolet there behind him in Tate Lytle. Unfortunately, that is colored as a Toyota as well. Jonathan Cutlip is there in 6th behind those Channel 199 cars. Then you got Blake Reynolds, who's dominated the early part of this race, but will restart way back in 8th spot. And they're going to give it to Carlos Acosta for coming down across the nose of Tyler Fody there.
Okay.
So, base car is off. Ethan Stanley and Mikolajczyk will get going. A big bump from Mikolajczyk to Ethan Stanley fires him ahead of Ethan Burrell. Burrell was able to clear by Mikolajczyk last time. We'll see what Paul can do this time. They are 3 wide in the mid-pack. Here comes Blake Reynolds as well on Tate Lytle. 3 wide through turn 1. Lytle, Higgins, Reynolds. Reynolds is pinned down a little bit, and Lytle will clear by him. Reynolds unable to make up any ground.
Yeah, that diving down 3 wide into 1 does not seem to work out for that inside car. They can just not carry anywhere near the momentum they need to gain any ground. And in fact, they just mostly lose at that point.
Mikolajczyk got a little bit loose in the tunnel turn. He allows Ethan Burrell to jump to the inside. Cutlip going to try to work to the outside of Paul Mikolajczyk. Mikolajczyk holds Burrell back with a little bit of a side draft, and that'll enable that 77 to get a big draft down this front straightaway. Burrell hung out by himself. It'll be Mikolajczyk and Cutlip both flying by the 37 on the outside. He might be able to get in front of Justin Wadsworth here, and he will not yet, but I think that'll cease the dropping for poor Ethan Burrell. Mikolajczyk keeps 2nd spot. It'll be Cutlip 3rd, Burrell 4th, working back to the inside. Great run through 1 and 2 1 for Burrell. He's going to try to get after Cutlip on this back straightaway. He won't get it done. He'll have to slide in line and single file first through at least 10th there, maybe even further back.
Yeah, this is the difficult thing. The other thing that makes passing hard here is because, like I mentioned earlier, the middle line is so dominant when you're side by side with somebody. So you're gonna struggle to get clear. And when everyone's in this long single file train where there's barely any gap between any of the cars, if you try to make a pass, you don't pull it off, you are losing many spots because you're just getting freight trains. So it just kind of forces you to think twice about whether or not you really want to try to make that move.
These guys aren't really thinking twice about it. Here comes Gavin Hibbs. Here comes Blake Reynolds. Both of them work to the outside in turn 1. Now they're going to try to use the bottom lane down the back straightaway. Hibbs working against Higgins in a battle of the Gavins here for the 8th spot. Give it to Hibbs for now, but Higgins strong off the corner up on the outside lane, and just in front of them, Blake Reynolds is going after Tate Lytle. Lytle trying to defend against the driver of the 66 who's dominated this race, but Reynolds sends it on the bottom. He's going to end up alongside Justin Wadsworth, but maybe without a little of that momentum. And Reynolds, Tate and Reynolds contact, and Tate Lytle is in the outside wall. That's going to, I think, be some big damage for Tate Lytle.
Yeah, that was direct right front contact. Having to fight hard just to hold off Hibbs. But still, he's still got enough pace to hold Hibbs at bay. And like I said, he might be losing a spot to the other Gavin as he voices his displeasure of, I assume, the package.
Tate Lytle did, or Gavin Hibbs did?
Gavin Hibbs did.
Ah.
He's very much not enthused about how this car races, and he's not saying anything incorrect.
Right, it's tough right now. Obviously, Blake Reynolds trying to get around Justin Wadsworth, unable to do so, and that is going to draw Tate Lytle closer to him, and we'll have to see if Tate has any unkind words for the 66 car after that contact. Back here, Jaden Racimus looking inside of Daniel Gore. Gore able to hold him off for that 10th spot. Trey Holmes jumps to the outside. Contact with the outside wall is for car number 23. He'll be able to maintain.
Something happened with Crump. He got shoved up high, lost a lot of speed, and called someone, voiced his displeasure with somebody. Oh my lord.
Oh, adventurous there. Turn one there for Scott Crump. I think, did Schuld get a piece of him there?
I think he might have.
Or did he just not? Yeah, it looks like Schuld got a piece of him.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, right in front of Ray Bracey.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. Meow.
Bojo ends up battling it out with David Tooker there. Up front, battle will be for third when we get back to live. Ethan Burrell, Justin Wadsworth are side by side with Blake Reynolds biting right amongst them. There goes Wadsworth by Burrell. So too goes Reynolds. Reynolds back into fifth now. Ethan Stanley still with the race lead over Mikolaj Cutlip. Then this Wadsworth, Reynolds, and Burrell battle. Blake Reynolds has had a stronger entry to turn 3 over anybody else in this series right now. He is just able to throw it in so deep into that corner and make it stick without burning that car up, it seems. And it's working for him for now, but you'd think he'd lose some momentum on this front straightaway, but he really just doesn't lose that much time down the front straightaway. It's not really punishing him to drive it in so deep into turn 3.
Yeah, and it's hard for anyone to come up with any sort of counter for that. He's been able to make the most spots up than anyone all night. You know, these are not easy passes that he's been able to complete. In a situation like this, you know, Ethan Burrell, Jonathan Cutlip, etc. are not easy drivers to pass. And so the fact that he's able to make these moves, it's hard to battle against someone who can do that.
And Blake Reynolds has, I think, shown us quite a bit of propensity of being able to do some things that these other drivers are unable to do right now. And he's just able to take lanes that I am not seeing anyone else utilize. That outside lane in turn 3 is not something being used by anybody else right now. And he's also going way up to the outside here in turn 1 and making big time speed out of it down the back straightaway. It's very interesting. Tate Lytle, a piece of the wall. So too did Gavin Higgins. Gavin Hibbs now trying to get to the outside of Higgins after that contact and get in behind Tate Lytle.
Gable also had a little bit of a moment off of one as well.
If I keep calling it off of 2, I'm sorry. I'm sure I've said that a couple of times now.
I think I have too.
3 turns here at Pocono, even though it should be 5. As Blake Reynolds again fires it in on Justin Wadsworth. He'll be side by side with the 6 car down the front straightaway. I don't think it's going to work out for Blake Reynolds. Again, Wadsworth able to carry that momentum on the outside lane with the Reynolds throwing it in so deep on the bottom of the racetrack. Everybody is chasing after Ethan Stanley right now.
Yeah, I am curious on what exactly happened with Reynolds' pit stop because like he entered leader, he exited like fifth. So I don't know what happened on that stop for the 66, but lost some crucial spots, and that might be the difference of him winning and him, maybe getting back to third or fourth, second or third at this point.
So I did a quick little look. He overshot his pit stall.
Mm. He just like me, for real, for real.
He's just like all of us. Blake Reynolds overshoots the pit stall, and it is going to cost him pretty dearly in this race. It just goes to show you how quick things can change as Jonathan Cullip and Paul Mikolajczyk are side by side, right? Blake Reynolds was kind of in control of this race, and with that yellow flag that brought out the caution before pit stops, Reynolds now fighting to get back into the top 5 as Mikolajczyk settles into third behind Cutlip. We'll see if Jonathan Cutlip can run down Ethan Stanley. Reynolds has not been able to clear by Justin Wadsworth and continue making up ground within the top 5. He is pretty much stuck in 5th spot right now.
Yeah, good move from Cutlip, though, able to slip by Mikolajczyk and already starting to put him in the rears. And now Mikolajczyk has to battle with Wadsworth. This will help Blake Reynolds.
Yep, Wadsworth now down to the bottom, but that'll give Blake Reynolds a shot to run that outside lane. Wadsworth slams the door up top. Here comes Reynolds to the bottom, and this is about the best run he's had all night long on Justin Wadsworth. Reynolds fires it down to the bottom. Wadsworth fires it in equally hard. They're door to door through the first turn.
Oh, Blake's sliding up.
Blake could not make that pass. Wadsworth able to hold off Blake Reynolds, the last 2 champions of this series. Right there in the 6 and the 66, and Ethan Burrell draws near as Mikolajczyk able to hold on to 3rd spot for now. Oh, Wadsworth sideways.
Whoa!
Here comes, this is Reynolds' chance right here. He has to get Wadsworth entering turn 3. The big dive for Blake Reynolds. He's going to get alongside Mikolajczyk. He is clear of Wadsworth right now. Can Reynolds power down and get there? I don't know. He's really far away trying to prevent the side draft, but here comes Wadsworth back after Blake Reynolds. He'll be side by side with Reynolds again into turn 1.
Yeah, ironically enough, his teammate is kind of messed up his ability to get that pass done. You saw Blake had the pass on Wadsworth done, but because Mikolajczyk was encompassing space in front, he couldn't jump back up, and now Wadsworth is gonna get back by, and now Burrell's gonna try to slip past.
Burrell trying to work his way back by Blake Reynolds. These guys not. They have seen what Blake Reynolds has been doing, and this group knows you can't let the 66 car get by. It will drive away from you and drive away from everybody. So the best thing they can do is fight him off.
Done. He's got it done. He clears.
Yep. He does clear Justin Wadsworth this time, but Wadsworth's going to have a chance to get back alongside Reynolds here if he finds a way. Reynolds has been using that rearview mirror quite extensively today. And Reynolds is finally clear of Justin Wadsworth. It took him 10 plus laps to get that pass done. He'll now go after his teammate, Paul Mikolajczyk, and he is now well behind, over a second behind Ethan Stanley and Jonathan Cutlip right now for the race lead.
Yeah, now he's got to get by his teammate. Meanwhile, Cutlip is starting to run down Ethan Stanley ever so slightly.
Johnny Thomas just made a pit stop. I am curious whether that is an attempt at, short pitting and seeing if if these guys might run out of fuel down the stretch here. Johnny's usually pretty apt with the fuel strategy. He's going to come out on the lead lap. He'll have fresh tires if the caution comes out. It might be a Hail Mary, hoping that everybody will come down pit road. He'll be able to stay out and take some track position. And it might be a matter of there is a fuel question. We don't think there is, but maybe it's closer than we think.
Yeah, I mean, with that caution, I think they're probably gonna be good. I mean, maybe it might be close for the race leaders, but I'd figure everyone can make it to the end. But hey, what do we really know? No one thought Briscoe was gonna make it to the end, but yet, so us broadcasters, we never really truly know what happens with fuel mileage. We just kind of have to speculate and hope we're right.
Especially when I don't have an exact number. You know, I haven't gotten it from anybody, so we have to kind of presume. And what I'm presuming right now is that these guys are good to go to the end, but with Johnny Thomas taking a pit stop here, that makes it less certain in my mind. Like it gives me some doubt. But again, right, that can also be a kind of a Hail Mary from Johnny. Let me get down, get tires now. If the caution comes out, I just won't pit, and we'll see how many spots I can make up from that, because Johnny had kind of fallen back after that crazy restart, and a set of restarts, he had fallen much further back than he was running at the beginning of this race when he sat in the top 10 for the entire first run.
Yeah, and if we get a caution like right now, it's the call of the century.
Mm-hmm. It can definitely work out for Johnny Thomas for sure. For now, I'm not seeing these Channel 199 Toyotas make any ground on. I'm not seeing them make any ground on the cars in front, the Jonathan Cutlip and Ethan Stanley. They're kind of holding station exactly where they are. That's going to make things a little bit messy, I imagine, down to the end, because.
Yeah, and in fact, they're almost about to fall out of the draft range.
Right, yeah. Blake is probably on the radio right now asking Paul for that clean air that we've talked about, and he might get it here. I'm wondering if he thinks he needs to push a car to get it pushed forward. I mean, they made up a 10th right there with a good tunnel turn, but I think it'd probably work a little better if Blake was leading this group, but maybe not. Blake's they've been able to make up some ground since I started talking about it, basically.
Yeah, and it's going to be hard to ask Paul to kind of get out of the way, because one, I don't think Racecraft rolls that way anyways, and plus, Blake hard into the wall.
Yeah, he's kind of fighting with the dirty air here, and I think that's going to make things a little bit more difficult for Blake Reynolds to be able to make up ground and try and make a fight for this race win.
Yeah, but as I was saying, this will be Paul's first ever top 3 finish in the Cup Series, so it would be hard to ask him to move out of the way in a situation like this, if that was ever even really on the table.
Right. It definitely, we'll say asking them to move, right, a la Formula One, is probably not something I would recommend here. It doesn't seem to be the spirit of stock car racing. But, if you're going for a team win, I guess it also doesn't matter, right? Because Ethan Stanley's also on their team. So a team win, and you're kind of already looking at that right now with Stanley currently leading this race.
Yeah, team points is definitely something this group is not having to worry about right now. I think they're doing pretty well in that category with most of the team in the top 5.
Yeah, that whole group has been outright spectacular this season, and 3 cars in the top 4 at the moment, though 2 of them have retired from this race. Zach Novak and Garrison Hogan both were taken on that first lap incident.
Yeah, obviously, not every race could be perfect, but right now it's still trailing pretty good for this group.
I think what's going to end up happening here is, this entire draft is kind of singled out. Obviously, Ethan Stanley's running away with it a little bit with 13 laps to go. My thought is the best bet for Blake Reynolds is to try and get around Mikulášek and try to draft up to Jonathan Cutlip. The issue, of course, we've seen how aggressive Blake Reynolds has been on the tires on that 66 car trying to carve through traffic. I'm guessing there's currently a bit of tire wear going on with Blake Reynolds. That car is definitely probably not handling as well as it had in the past, and especially when he was leading the race in clean air, that car was probably handling wonderfully on old tires. Right now, it is probably absolutely tight as can be, and that's not helping. I think Blake Reynolds, bypass Mikulášek for one, but also for two, run down these race leaders. It's kind of got him in a spot where he's stuck effectively and just trying to click laps off and hope for a caution.
Yeah, and the first few laps on this set of tires basically kind of sets how good the wear is going to be on them. You have to focus on the first few laps to make sure that you will still have something at the end. The harder you push earlier, the worse your tires will be. And we saw Blake having to push like heck right from the drop of the green flag for this kind of final stint, having to make up all that track position loss. So because of that, he had to take too much out of the account too early, and now he's having to pay the piper and just not having nearly as much left as he would have hoped and as he would have had at the end of the first stint, having the lead and still having somewhat cleanish air, being closer to the front at the start.
Right. Yeah, and it's at this point, right? It's you mentioned it's Paul Mikulášek. I don't think has got a top 3 run. Zach is pretty good at quickly finding the stats on stuff like that. I don't have quite the means to pull that off and get the numbers for you guys. But Mikulášek, I think I don't believe we've ever interviewed him. He might have a top 2 run or top 3 run last season at some point, but it's escaping me. So this is a very good day for one of those Channel 199
big
cars.
Sideways for Daniel Gore. Oh my goodness, he had to drift that thing again.
Gore has been sideways more times than I care to count as the car owner of that 69. He got some help.
Yeah,
but
little bump.
A little help, but I think that car was pressing towards the outside wall very tight, and so Gore had gotten out of the throttle, and that's where Trey Holmes makes a little contact with it.
Yeah, and Daniel just came over the radio and said, "Sorry, Trey, it was tracking tight."
There you go. Up front, it is still Ethan Stanley dominating at a non-road course for a bit of a change after his internet went out last week and he was unable to stay connected to the service and ultimately went several laps down and had his 6th race winning streak on the road courses snapped. Stanley back with a vengeance right now in his attempt at a first win for Channel 199. Second place is Jonathan Cutlip. Third will be Paul Mikulášek. Fourth is Blake Reynolds, last season's champion and dominator of this race early. But since this latest set of cautions and an overslide of his pit box, he's been unable to make any ground up. Justin Wadsworth runs 5th. Ethan Burrell 6th. Tate Lytle 7th. He's got damage on the nose after contact with Blake Reynolds. Gavin Hibbs is 8th. Gavin Higgins is 9th. And Daniel Gore runs in 10th. Those two Gavins are both having very good runs, but them running next to each other is awfully difficult from an announcing perspective. The Gavin HI double consonant letter that ends in S is it's rather confusing. But they've been nose to tail basically the whole race.
Yeah, Gavin is doing a great job holding Gavin off. Gavin's doing the best he can to try to get by Gavin, but Gavin's just holding on to that position fantastically. But we'll see if Gavin burns his tires off and gives Gavin an opportunity to get by.
You think Gavin's going to get by Gavin, or will Gavin?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. My money's on Gavin at this point.
Shout out to Jaden Racimus running 12th. We've covered his run in the series extensively from the dual race, which he went to try and race his way into, wound up being one spot short, getting in based on drivers dropping out of the 500. had some troubles in that race. He's attended some of these other races, but this is rather easily his best run of the season so far. That's the one car running in 12th spot, Jaden Racimus, and impressive run for a younger kid who's running out here with his dad. Obviously, we saw Jesse get stuffed in the inside wall on the front straightaway a few laps ago, but so Jaden's going to finish ahead of dear old dad this week.
Yeah, his runs across all of the Elite Series so far have actually been looking pretty good. You know, I'm involved with almost every other series in Elite, much to the chagrin of people. Oh, who's that hard into the wall in the background?
I have no idea. I didn't see it. It might be Seth. Oh, it's Seth Rawls. For sure,
Yeah.
it's Seth Rawls. Rawls is hard into the outside wall again in turn one. Rawls' car is destroyed. And that was out of 13th place, just around Jaden Racimus. Seth, I think, has been following Jaden. Jaden's been working the snake, and it looks like that car hooked on Seth Rawls, and he slams the outside wall.
Yeah, the death wobble. Oh,
Right front is completely broke on the Seth Rawls car. It is not turning whatsoever. He is just trying to get this thing back to pit road without causing a yellow flag that would shake this race up in a crazy way. 5 laps to go for Ethan Stanley at the line now. Rawls, I believe, will make it back to pit road.
That is unbelievably unfortunate for Seth Rawls, having a great run and just, the next gen just really wanted to do next gen things, and yeah, that's just tough.
I don't want to, at the risk of sounding like grumpy old D West, the booth guy, and not David that runs the races. That's why I wouldn't play any of those games on the straightaways, right? Running, trying to break the draft or whatever. Man, just drive the car. Stay straight. Ryan Gable's trying to wreck off the tunnel turn right now. Tyler Fode and Justin Vandermarl are going to go flying by him. I wouldn't play any of those games, right? Jaden's trying to cut the draft. If I'm Seth, just drive on the outside, man. If you finish behind him, you finish behind him. I'd rather finish 13th than last. Jaden's wrecking on the front straightaway. Jaden Racimus sideways. Oh, no. He managed to save it. He's going to lose a spot to Josh Adams. Going to lose a couple more to Fode and Gavel and Vandermarl and probably Schold as well. Oh, my goodness. What a save. The tires are old right now. These guys are really starting to struggle. Gavel's outside of Jaden Racimus. Schold is right there. Gavel and Jaden have both had crazy moments in the last couple of laps. Obviously, Rawls has been in the outside wall. 3 to go for Ethan Stanley this time by. If Stanley can get to that start-finish line and get this thing to the white flag, that'll be his best bet, because I think Ethan Stanley is hoping none of these caution flags wave. That's really what he needs to be hoping for right now, because a caution would really turn this race upside down. Jaden almost into Ryan Schold off turn 3.
Man, everything is happening right now.
3 to go. Tyler Fode, who has been involved in several wrecks, has stepped up into 13th spot. Justin Vandermarl's now going to be up in 14th. Ryan Gavel's 15th. Jaden falls to 17th, but that's still a really good run for the rookie driver. He'll be in the clutches, though, of Brent Jones and Ray Bracey. Those two guys are bearing down heavily on Jaden Racimus right now, so a top 20 finish may be a little bit in danger, especially if he continues to wiggle and wobble off of some of these corners. Stanley through turn 3 safely. He is looking at 2 to go. We're managing these guys on the older tires in the mid-pack, because that's where I think a caution could come from, but it'll have to come on this lap. Stanley 2 to go this time. He'll have one more circuit once we get back around. The caution would not wave on the white flag. That would be the end of today's race, regardless. So Stanley needs to get back around to get this white flag.
And that's easier said than done, apparently.
15th through 23rd is all in a line right now. So too is 3rd through 8th. You can see there's the first train of cars as Ethan Stanley works down the back straightaway. There's the second one coming off of turn 2. It's like everybody stays straight. I'm wondering to see if anybody tucks out. It'll be Scott Crump working to the inside of Ty McIntosh back there. Here comes Tate Lytle to the inside of Ethan Burrell, up for 6th. Lytle underneath Burrell, trying to work for a top 6 run. It looks like he's going to get underneath Wadsworth as well. Lytle trying to make it stick down there on the older tires. It's not going to be enough. Those Pro Edge Toyotas are going to clear by. Ethan Stanley takes the white flag. He'll get there without incident. They're still going to be trying to wreck, though, for about 20th spot. You can see him 2 wide back at the top of your screen. Up front, it is Ethan Stanley working to the inside. Jonathan Cutlip, he'll have second spot for sure. It is up down to Mikolajczyk versus Reynolds for third. And right now, Reynolds has been pretty unwilling to pass his teammate for that third spot. They're side by side back for about 20. They're 3 wide for about 20th spot. Up front, it is Ethan Stanley, Jonathan Cutlip, and then Paul Mikolajczyk, the top 3. They have not made any passes. This is the gnarliest race on the track. Also up front for 5th, it will be between Burrell and it will be between Wadsworth. But it'll be all Ethan Stanley from a mid-race pit stop to the green flag. Ethan Stanley will take home the Long Pond 200. Jonathan Cutlip for second. Mikolajczyk third. Blake Reynolds will finish 4th in a what could have been type of race for Blake Reynolds. Ooh. There is, and they finished without wrecking throughout the field. We'll get to the running order here in a second. A lot of really good runs, actually, from a lot of guys down the stretch of this running order here. A crazy, chaotic opening to this race wound up creating a very mundane middle part of the race, and then ultimately the deciding factor was the final pit stop with about 40 laps to go, James.
Yeah, those last 10 laps or so were anything but mundane. That was absolutely wild. Everyone having to have the some of the saves of a lifetime. Otherwise, we were gonna be getting more cautions. But fantastic driving from everyone to assure that didn't happen. Phew, lads, my goodness.
A bit of a wild minute there, and ultimately Ethan Stanley does finish it off. We'll take a quick look at the running order. It will be, as we mentioned, for the top 5 there. Ethan Burrell does come home in 6th behind Justin Wadsworth. Tate Lytle finishes 7th despite that damage. Then you have Gavin Higgins, Gavin Hibbs, Daniel Gore rounding out your top 10. Trey Holmes, Josh Adams, Tyler Fody, Justin Vandermarl. That was kind of the area where things started to go crazy, though. Ryan Schold finishes 15th with Ryan Gavel 16th. Jaden Racimus with a top 17 run there, and Ty McIntosh grabs 18th. And then taking a look at this next page, it was Scott Crump finishing 19th over Brent Jones, Ray Bracey, David Tooker, and then Corey Abbott. The rest of the field is kind of as they were running late in the going, but that's how they finished it off. And we'll start with Paul Mikolajczyk in his 3rd place run, and we'll get to talk to Paul here. And I'll take these two. James will take 2nd place finisher Jonathan Cutlip, but I've got Paul with me right now. And Paul, first of all, congratulations on P3. Really good pit strategy. Take me through what led to that final run there where you were able to hold everybody off for 3rd.
Yeah, I think I was the only one that didn't slide through the box in pit lane. That's how I got up to 4th, and then starting the high line there is so much better. Once, like, me and Blake got together, it was a little of teamwork just to hold our spots and make sure that we didn't lose more by getting passed and just getting pushed to the outside or inside, depending where you were. Because if you get side by side, you could probably lose a good bit.
Yeah, and so, obviously with that teamwork, it just didn't seem like you guys had anything for Ethan Stanley. Was Clean Air really that much of a king, or whether, you guys just trying to hang out and not cause a yellow flag while Ethan was kind of pulling away up there?
It was Dirty Air was definitely a thing. That was rough. You might have saw it on that last restart when I just pull out into. I was like, okay, I didn't think it was this bad. But yeah, what was the rest of the question?
That's pretty much it, right? How bad is the Dirty Air? Seems like it was pretty rough for you guys.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. Like, I was so worried about my right front tire. It was plowing off, and I was like, Blake, you just got to push me in the straights, man. Like, it was real bad. And I kept missing turn 2. Like, I had problems getting in there. I didn't realize, like, where to lift until later in the race when Blake yelled at me.
Having that guy for a teammate always helps, I think. But you've had a bit of a rough start to the season. I think overall, how does a run like this kind of catapult you back into that same conversation with your teammates that have been winning all these races?
Oh, I expect them to win. I'm like the big mascot on the back. I was like, hey, I'm cool. Yeah, I'm funny. I talk a lot. But yeah, I don't think I started off that bad. I think I was in the playoffs above the cut line currently. This season schedule fits me a lot better than last season's as well. I'm saying that as well as a lot. Don't mind that. Yeah, so I'm excited for the rest of the season. Rockingham, I'm excited for Rockingham. Darlington's a going for me as well. God.
Oh. Awesome. That's good. Those are my favorite tracks too anyway, but any shout outs for us here before we send you off tonight, Paul?
Yeah, shout out for Blake for saying I'm always cute on broadcast. Shout out Racecraft Academy, Penguin RC, Next Level Racing. Use code Racecraft to check out. Apex Gaming PCs and Wellscope Financial for sponsoring me and bringing me on. Have logos on the car, which is cool. Yeah, shout out to all the people I talked to in the race, like John, Stanley, all my teammates, Zach, Justin. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, good run, Paul. Good to have you up here. I wasn't sure. Have we talked to you before? Have you gotten a podium in this series already, or is this the first time in the booth?
No, I think the best I finished is 4th. I don't remember where, but I talk in the Daytona.
Say,
There we go.
The
I
Gen
wanted
4.
to say it was a plate track, but there you go. So
Yeah.
good. Glad you're up here. Congrats on the career best thus far, and we're hoping you beat it in the next couple of weeks.
I hope so too. I'm ready for chess next week as well.
That's right. Yeah, we'll have to actually play. I was distracted, but we'll move on and send you off. So thanks, Paul.
Yep. Peace out.
We'll bring up
That should
Jonathan
be-
Cutlip, and I'll toss it over to James.
All right, John, James in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, great race out there tonight. We saw you kind of lead a good chunk of the early portion, but then kind of got shuffled back, but still was able to bring home P2. First of all, just take us through how hard it is to pass around this track.
Oh, yeah, it's borderline impossible. It's pretty much a massive track position game. Our car was super fast tonight. It's about as fast as Xfinity Mobile, but unfortunately, you still have to bow to the laws of physics and air, and as soon as we lost the fresh air, it was game over from there.
Yeah, we saw you have a spirited scrap with Blake when he was able to get by you and giving you a heck of a defensive line there. What'd you think of that?
Oh, we were having a blast. We were in the same Discord call, and we were just like chilling, talking, and it was a fun battle for the lead. We kind of knew we probably weren't going to get another chance in the race to do that with a lot of people just without the air was working out and just pushing everyone apart. So yeah, we were taking advantage of it while we could.
Yeah, and we saw you able to get by Paul there. Did you think you might have had anything for Stanley? You were kind of catching him up a little bit there early on into the run.
No, it's so hard to generate runs, and you have to be about 4 cents faster just to have a chance. And when you get further and further up in the field, it's harder to make those speed differences. And Paul's a really fast driver. His results never show it. He's been at the receiving end of a lot of bad luck, but he's a super quick driver. He's even helped me take my game up to the next level last season. He's a major reason why and how I won the Xfinity Championship. But yeah, we kind of lucked out on grabbing second. He had a little bit of a bobble and got some dirty air from Stanley, and I was able to close up enough just to get to him. And luckily, we were able to get enough drive off the corner of turn 1 to get the pass finished on him. But Yeah, I knew second was gonna be a little sketchy, and I knew first was completely out of the question unless we had another caution at the end.
Well, all in all, still an incredible performance from me tonight. Any sponsors, plugs, and shout outs you'd like to give?
Yeah, shout out to you guys over here in Elite. Dave, David, and James. I'm not sure it's the most entertaining race. Hopefully the battle with Blake gave you guys enough to talk about, and some other battles through the field. It sounded like it was getting a little hairy there at times. Shout out to Race CPI, my Road to Pro team and Open Setup team. Shout out to Field Up Racing. We've been having a lot of fun this season. We have a few fast guys. Justin Vandermeer, super proud of him. He won the ARCA championship, so I'm super stoked for that. And he also painted my cars for the last couple of weeks, so huge shout out to him. We have something cool brewing for, I think it's next week at Darlington, so I'm looking forward to showing you guys that. And yeah, shout out to my mom. She's always supportive. I think she's watching, so hopefully she enjoyed the race. She's pretty stoked with the P2, and yeah, I'm not really sure I'm missing anyone, so I think we're good for this week.
Alrighty, well, we appreciate you, John, and hopefully we're talking to you again next week.
Yep, hopefully one spot better. Have a good night.
All right, and back to Dave for our race winner.
Yeah, let's grab Ethan Stanley, and it turns out he's been winning a lot of races since you got the computer fixed, Ethan. So first of all, congratulations on the win. And second of all, what is this? Your third consecutive race this week? What's with all the success, buddy? You just galvanized after finally getting the computer fixed?
Yeah, 3 out of 4 this week. Had a pretty bad night last night, but yeah, got the PC fixed finally. Seems pretty solid so far. I haven't had a single crash again. So hopefully that's a good sign for the rest of the season. But yeah, I don't know what it was this week. Just managed to get the lead and just kind of held on to it.
You made it farther than I did yesterday, but taking us to tonight's race, obviously, you won the race off pit road, and that was just kind of all she wrote. Was clean air really that big of a deal for you? It seemed like you couldn't make any passes when you were back there in fourth on the first run, but as soon as you got the lead, it was all over.
Yeah, clean air was definitely king. I mean, you could set up a pass in the first 10 laps, but after that, you were pretty much you were where you were. So yeah, just lucky that those two slid their boxes on the pit stop and just inherited the lead and just kept it from there.
And I know you're not a huge fan of the interviews, so I'll give you one more question and then the shout outs, but obviously you're locked into the playoffs now. You got kind of the ball rolling after, the frustrating start with the internet and the crashes at Daytona. What's the outlook for you? Obviously you're not going to change anything. You're going to go out here and try to win every race, but any tracks you're looking forward to? You ready for Darlington next week?
Oh yeah, I'm ready for Darlington. I won it last year, so I'm pretty excited to run that again. Usually one of my better tracks, and just pretty happy in general after that pretty awful start to the season with computer issues and whatnot. So yeah, pretty happy to bring it home at Pocono, my home track too. So pretty stoked about that.
Awesome, man. Well, any shout outs for us here tonight? I know you're not the biggest interview fan, but you've been interviewed a bunch this week anyway, so it's all good.
Yeah, big shout out to Racecraft Academy, bringing me all the season. First win with them, and pretty good too. I won 3-4. Big shout out to JD Designs, John Cutlip, finished second. He always makes great paints. Love these paints. Next Level Racing, of course, sponsor with the team, and Apex Gaming Pieces as well. Big thanks to them. And then big thanks to you guys up in the booth. Always love watching these back, and shout out to Chad and all the admins that run this stuff.
Gotcha, man. Well, we appreciate it. Obviously, congratulations on the string of wins this week, and we'll catch you next week. And I'm sure you'll be a big time factor at Darlington for the Southern 500.
Yep. See you around.
the ever quiet yet deadly Ethan Stanley with yet another Elite Belly Up Sports Cup Series victory tonight. And that'll close the books on us from Pocono. James, any final thoughts before we send him off?
No, I mean we pretty much saw a little bit of everything from this race. We got the massive calamities, wrecks that I don't think anyone will ever forget, but a lot of great racing, some good battling, interesting moments on pit road. So yeah, pretty solid race, all things considered.
Yeah, it's solid, I think, but I'm hoping that we can get a little more passing out of this next gen car. I don't know what it needs, but hopefully
Good luck
these,
with that.
iRacing and NASCAR themselves find a way to make this thing a little bit better because, man, it stinks when they get lined up and that's all you can do. So that's from all of us here at Elite Racing Network for the Belly Up Sports Cup Series. That was Long Pond 200. Catch us next week for Darlington, the Southern 500 for us. I think we'll be an hour earlier. Be sure to tune in. We'll see you.